What I like about Teal Swan, Part 1, even though I like to do these podcasts extemporaneously, I think about them a little bit ahead of time. I've done well over 500 podcasts now, 19 books also. But I like to speak a little bit extemporaneously because I think it's more creative that way. Occasionally I'll write down bullet points, but in this case I probably should have written things down because I have a few more things circulating in my mind, but that's why I put part 1 because there might be more than one part. So let's get into that. So a few of the things I like about Teal Swan is that I think in this world often people are a little bit more duality one way or the other in a few different dimensions, which I think Teal has more integrated, which is very appealing in a person generally. And let me give a few more specifics on that. So most people tend to be, more physical or more spiritual. Like I think Teal is very earthy, but she's obviously very spiritual. Like she has a lot of not only spiritual abilities, but spiritual consciousness. But she's very practical in her spirituality. That's what I'm trying to say. Like some people are very ethereal in their spirituality. Like Teal can be ethereal because she talks about the Akashic records and other things that are not, is easy to grasp sometimes by many people, but she always explains things in a way that makes sense. Like she always takes abstract concepts and kind of I don't want to say simplifies them because it's not like she's dumbing them down, but she really applies them to people's lives. In my book Exponentials, I talk about the power of context, how we're all awash in information overload, and it's people that understand not only what things are but what things mean that have the most power. And I think Teal has a lot of power because she understands the big picture. Like she can explain about this topic, this topic, this topic, this topic, because she understands how they all relate together and not only what each topic is, but what each topic means. I think that's the difference between just knowledge and understanding and wisdom. I think Teal has progressed beyond. It's almost something like a love fest. Just praising her this and that. I mean, I'm sure everybody has strengths and weaknesses, but it's kind of a unique, very rare ability to kind of really just burrow down and understand things at this deep level. And every topic that I think she has, she not only talks about that topic, but she kind of integrates it in context to the larger meaning. And I love that because that's what I try to do in my business, and that's what I try to do in my life. Life is more meaningful if your life is integrated, if your spirituality is reflected in your physical life, and if your relationships are reflected, your business and your life and your work and your play, if it's all integrated and it's all working together, it's all, synergistic, to use an overused term sometimes, that is powerful. And I think Teal could do that. Another thing that I like about Teal Swan is that I think she is both soft and hard at the same time. She's a very strong person. I think there is I can imagine working for her. There's probably a high level of accountability, but she's not mean. A lot of people that are strong are mean, but I think she talks a lot about kindness, and but she's not the kind of person to cut corners. She's very dedicated, and she's very, in some ways she's very businesslike, but in some ways she's kind of more personal at the same time. I think this is a unique combination because most people that are very businesslike is they kind of have a little bit of a rougher edge, or they're kind of just she's kind of soft and gentle. She winks at the camera and she smiles, and it's she's playing at the same time as she's working. She's very, very serious about what she's doing, but she's kind of very playful at the same time. And I love that combination because I think you have to take yourself seriously. You have to be so dedicated in life because the world is very potentially competitive. It's not competitive in a sense because you're really running your own race and nobody can compete. Nobody can be a better version of you than you can be, but it's kind of we have a lot of entropy in this universe, and we have a lot of dark matter. So it's easier to just lie in bed all day and do nothing than it is to always be productive and to kind of a little bit swim upstream. I mean, we're supposed to swim downstream and upstream at the same time. More downstream because you're just going to wear yourself out if you're always going upstream. But you also can't just follow the path of least resistance. So it's kind of metaphorical that way. I think Teal is the same way because she's kind of a truth speaker, but she's kind of like a gentle truth speaker. Like she says what needs to be said, which I think all successful people do. Like I read a thing once that your level of success is based upon the number of difficult conversations that you can have. Like she says that people attack her sometimes in media or in videos and things like that because she says things that people don't want to hear. But I think she couches them like. I think like the truth could be used as a sledgehammer, or the truth could be used as a vehicle of love, like tough love. Like I did a podcast on tough love. I said tough love should be more focused on love and less on tough. I mean, sometimes you have to be blunt. I mean, sometimes you have to call a spade because there's so much, just people making excuses in life, people being selfish, people being lazy, people being mean, people being vindictive, that you have to cut through that just by like calling a spade a spade. There has to be like positive accountability, but you can't use the truth as a hammer because people won't want to be around you if you're just like hammering them down all the time. No pun on my name because my name is Hammer. But I think Teal is very kind, but she's very direct. I love that combination because I think Teal is very confident because people that have less confidence, people that have less confidence, they kind of hem and haw. They sometimes become passive aggressive because they don't want to speak the truth. But Teal is very confident. She doesn't need other people to like her. I think she wants other people to like her because I think she's a people person. And the other thing I like about her is that she focuses a lot on relationships. Like I think she talks about the importance of being alone and loving yourself, which I think is critical because you can't give away something that you don't already have. You can't love other people if you don't love yourself. But she also talks about the need for connection. Like she was talking about, like I ran for governor as an independent, and I resonated so much with her thing where she talked about like bringing the world together, bringing politics more together, about Democrats and Republicans. They see kind of like the aspects of the other side that are not as potentially helpful, but they don't see themselves. It's like it's easier to project out to the other side. That's the exact reason I ran for politics. I mean, I think there's things about both Democrats and Republicans that are good and not as good. I mean, good is not exactly the right word I want to use. That's a value judgment. But just for example, I think, Republicans, I think they're focused on, initiative and responsibility and, working hard and market forces are good. Because I think otherwise we become lazy and we become just entitled. But I think the Democrats, their focus is on like building communities, supporting each other, loving each other, helping each other, public roads, public schools, even Hillary Clinton says it takes a village to raise a child. I believe in that also, that nobody accomplishes everything on their own. So it's kind of like a what's the word where both sides have some meaning, have some relevance, that, one side could be true, but the other side could also be true. So I think Teal brings a lot of these elements together, and I'll leave it there for the end of part one.